if that's cool with you to record.
Is it cool with you?
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks everyone for being here. My name is Daniela Castillo. I'm another vegan vet in Los Angeles. And this is the first of hopefully many interviews with other vegan veterinarians. And this is my idea because I just want the word vegan to be more mentioned in the veterinary field. We're just gonna try to like highlight the hard journey of people like Jenny into the veterinary profession as vegans and their important accomplishments. So Jenny is my first guest. So thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciate it. And Jenny and I have been friends for a few years and I have the most respect, and she's like my personal hero in the world. And you'll see why, because I have a passion for wildlife. And so Jenny Conrad has cared for wildlife in 6 continents for over 2 decades. She has advocated for animal welfare, and she's seen firsthand the suffering and exploitation of animals, destruction of habitat and hunting, all of which threaten the welfare and very survival of many species. Jenny has participated in many programs to protect and improve the lives of wild animals. She has traveled to Namibia to dehorn rhinos, making them unattractive targets for slaughter by poachers who prize the horns for ornamental uses. Dr. Conrad is a graduate of the University of California, Davis School of Veterinary Medicine. She's a member of the AVMA, the American Association of Zoo Veterinarians, and the European Association of Zoo and Wildlife Veterinarians. She's currently divided between working with nonprofit wildlife sanctuaries for unwanted and abused animals in South California, and she's administering her own company, Vet to Real Stars, which provides humane veterinary care to animals appearing in television and movies. Some of her patients includes actors, animals in the life of Pi, Transformers 2, The Hangover, Zookeeper, Dr. Dolittle, and the Planet of Apes. When Dr. Conrad was in her last job as the head veterinarian in the wildlife sanctuary, she founded the Paw Project, which rehabilitates big cats, such as lions, tigers, and cougars, and that have been ruined by decline. Actually, I'm part of this amazing organization, and recently Jennifer Conrad was the winner of the Veterinary Heroes for the program's feline medicine sponsored by Zoetis, and she will tell us more about this, but this is a huge accomplishment for animals. So I'm going to start with my first question and ask you, how was your experience, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people here wants to hear, but how was your experience in veterinary school?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you, Daniela, for having me. And if any of you don't know, Daniela is my spirit animal because she's so true to the cause, and she really has put a lot of passion into this, and it's impressive. We bonded I don't know how many years ago, because we both understood that animals, as their doctors, that we have an obligation to them, and that includes being vegan. I mean, how can you not be vegan and treat animals? It doesn't make sense. So we bonded many years ago, and it's interesting because I went to vet school many years before Daniela did, and it was very hard. I went to UC Davis, and I realized that what their goal was not to teach us to love animals, but to teach us that animals are a commodity, and that, I mean, they would say the stupidest things like they don't. It's shocking that they didn't even recognize that dogs have personalities, and that's largely because veterinarians have this idea that animals, if the more that we give them and recognize in them, the more that we can get sued as veterinarians. So it was indoctrinated into my class that animals don't feel pain the same way that we do, or that they don't have emotions. I had a huge argument one day probably around 2014. So I was already well established as a veterinarian. I had a huge argument with a very prominently recognized behaviorist who's a veterinarian. Her name is Bonnie Beaver, which is a whole nother story because that's funny. But she was telling me that dogs don't feel guilty when you catch them doing something bad. And I said, how do you know? And she said, because they are in condition to know that they're going to get beaten if they do something wrong. So it's not guilt, it's fear. And I said, okay, first of all, there's no way I've ever beaten my dog. And she absolutely knew if I came home from work and there, she had ripped apart something or another, just because was her MO. She knew that I wasn't going to beat her, but she absolutely gave me the big brown eyes. Like I was possessed momentarily. And I had this argument with this woman about how come I'm anthropomorphizing animals? And I'm saying, how could you not recognize that? Why would we be the only ones who have these qualities? And it was a very interesting and very enlightening thing that this person who represented the American Veterinary Medical Association was absolutely sure that animals didn't feel emotions. And I thought, wow, are we so behind? And then I remember also reading in Smithsonian Magazine in 2003 that catch and release maybe hurts the fish because actually fish have nerves in their mouths. And I thought, we are so dumb to think that we're alone in all these things. And how sad is it for us that we spend all this money looking for extraterrestrial life when all these lives that are here, we don't even recognize how lovely they are and how much we could learn from them and how they treat the world and how they exist. And so in vet school, that was the same sort of thing. And I handled it in a very bad way, but I was fortunate enough that I had friends who knew that I just couldn't attend. It made me so upset all the time. And so I just didn't attend. And I had friends who would let me know what the homework was. And that's how I accrued over 107,000 frequent flyer miles traveling between Davis, which is like 350 miles away from LA, in those 4 years. I just couldn't go. It was too upsetting, that this idea that animals don't deserve. I mean, the one thing that I think we always have to recognize as veterinarians is that we are pediatricians for animals. We aren't tailors who are going to cut up these animals and suit the whims of some person. We're pediatricians for animals, and then it's harder to do something wrong. You're muted.
You'll be very sad to find out that AVMA welfare people are not any different right now, and this will be another completely, another hour conversation. But has not changed a lot. But yeah, you're right. It's the way that we've been taught and the way that animals are seen. So
yeah, and it's true, and I think I think that there are different types of people in the world of animals. There are people who toil, and they're like the ones who do the best they can. And I don't mean it in all disparagingly. They're the ones who focus on a limited number of animals, and they will give everything they can to those animals. And then there are those people who ride higher and higher on the backs of animals. And that's where the AVMA, those are the people who are in the AVMA. They have lost all respect. They don't care about animals. They are using animals to increase what their position is and increase their own salaries, but they do not care about animals. And the people who do care about animals on a single, like trappers or rescuers, they don't have the time to deal with these people who just want to get bigger and bigger on the backs of animals. They're so focused on the animals that they don't have the ability to see that the AVMA or whatever organization, these big rescue like the ASPCA is terrible, because they just get more and more money and then they promote more and more people instead of like, hey, we have $56 million over our budget. Why don't we do spay and neuter? You know, why don't we do something with it instead of just keeping it?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So would you share when and how was the moment that you decided to go vegan?
I don't know if I know that it was a moment, to tell you the truth. I know that especially in vet school, as I saw how these animals were treated and what we were supposed to think of them, and how I had an argument with a woman who told me, well, they were bred to be eaten. And I thought, do you think that means that they don't feel? Like, are we breeding them without brains so that they can just be eaten? I mean, what makes you think that they don't feel the pain and the sorrow and they don't feel the terror of knowing they're going to get killed? And that was for me one of the reasons that I went from being more or less vegetarian to being more vegan, was because I knew that I couldn't be part of that. And I wish that I could be vegan on, there's so many things when you look at the world, there's so many things that still have animal products that I can't, like tires have animal products in them. And we're gonna do stuff with animal products until people realize that they can change and we can change it all. And I'm hoping, it's really quite interesting to watch the vegan movement grow and to feel like people are beginning to get it. And I always try and tell young veterinarians, because they go through, vet school is about making you not love animals anymore. It's so strange because every single person who finds out I'm a vet says, oh, you must love animals. And I'm like, I do. But I don't think that people go into human medicine saying, oh, you must love people. That's a weird combination. But what I realized is, for young veterinarians and anyone who works with animals, the key is the difference between compassion and empathy. So compassion has a very wide berth. You can kill unnecessarily with compassion. You can declaw cats with compassion. You can eat meat that was supposedly compassionately raised. But if you change that up to empathy, and you actually only use empathy as your guide of whether something is right or wrong, you can't do those things. You can't kill an animal with empathy unless that animal is truly suffering and it's truly euthanasia, meaning a kind death. You can't declaw a cat with empathy. You can't want to have animals slaughtered for your meal with empathy. So I think as we pull back to only empathy as our guide, we're going to have a better world. Because it's hard for a lot of people to know, but if you bring it back to empathy, they absolutely know.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. And so in that, thinking about empathy, what in your career, what do you think is the favorite part so far?
I would say my favorite thing about being a veterinarian is that in any of the policy changes that I try and make, or any of the big picture, veterinarians are recognized as the leader in anything with animals. They're recognized as that. And so I would say that is my favorite thing about being a veterinarian is automatically they assume I'm an authority. And I'm happy that I went to vet school for that reason. I'm not happy because I wasted a lot of years struggling with sadness, but in changing policy or working for anything that's bigger for animals, like a bigger picture for animals, there's nothing like being a veterinarian. Don't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Like you just said that, and it totally reminds me why in the world I wanted to be a vet so bad. And I, because all this sacrifice that I made in vet school in Mexico, it's like, no, because one day my voice is gonna have a lot of weight, with animals.
Yeah.
And it's so right. It's so right. And so talking about the big picture and, how do you decided to start your organization, the Paw Project?
So I'm someone who loves cats. And when I was in vet school, I had this opportunity in Davis where we could kind of specialize in our final 2 years. And I thought, well, since my whole family's in human medicine, I don't want to specialize in dogs and cats because that's so narrow. And that's like what my whole family does, like only one species. And I thought, as a veterinarian, I'm allowed to treat everybody else on the planet except for humans. So I'm going to do wildlife and exotic animal medicine, and I'm going to be creative. And it's fun because it is a creative field. And you know this, where you're like, how am I going to get blood from this animal without killing it? And it's already sick, so I don't want to knock it down, because if I knock it down, I could kill it. I need to know what's going on. So that's a very creative field. And in my final year at Davis, they let me have 17 weeks off, which is really amazing opportunity. I got to do internships all over, and I really fell in love with marine mammals. And I thought I was going to go into marine mammals, but then I also was working on big cats, and I thought, oh God, I love cats, and they're nothing like a big cat. Like that is so, they're so cat. And when they're big cats, they're, I don't know.
Multiply by 1,000.
Yeah. And so I started working with big cats, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, as I was working at a sanctuary, I thought, wow, these cats have been maimed. The beautiful cats have been maimed by being declawed. And I thought, well, I'm a young veterinarian. I'm going to figure this out and fix it. And I went to, human hand surgeons, and I asked them how they would how would they fix that, because declawing is an amputation of that last bone. And I got all this information, and I took a cat, a young tiger, to surgery because he was so lame. And he did so well after the declaw revision surgery. I almost felt like an evangelist, where I was like, heal, like I changed his life so quickly. And then I was committed to doing it for all the big cats I had who were lame and declawed. And one day the deputy to the mayor of West Hollywood came to see what I was doing, because people had publicized that these big cats could walk again, and how much joy their lives were having. And he was the deputy to the mayor of West Hollywood, and I was dealing with a lion, and she had her green bandages on. I had repaired her paws, and she had these green bandages on, and she wouldn't let me take them off. And I think it's because she woke up from surgery, and she's like, oh, my paws feel so much better. You can't have my new shoes. But I had to take them off, and I was very frustrated because, as you know, you don't want to knock an animal down like 3 days after you just knocked it down. And I turned to him and I said, let's just make it illegal to declaw in West Hollywood. And I thought veterinarians would be so happy about it. I thought people would be like, oh God, I'm so glad I don't have to declaw anymore. But little did I know, people were very mad at me. And I went to a conference for the American Association of Feline Practitioners, and I sat down at a lunch and learn, where you get your lunch, which by the way was not, nobody had anything vegan. So of course you have your 5 pieces of lettuce and some olives, and you know, because they don't serve vegan things. And I sat down thinking I was going to learn about some topic with cats, and everybody on the table just got up and left, like 7th grade girls, you know. And I thought, I am so glad that you showed me your true colors, because I work for the cats, not for other veterinarians. And if your other veterinarians are going to be so petty and so awful, then you've just fortified my cause. And that's where the Paw Project started.
That's, oh my God, that I love that story, and what a great commitment that you know have followed to help cats. I'm so proud to be part of your organization. You have no idea how much, like, so what we're a little bit over half of this meeting, and my next question is, what is it that you would want to tell your colleagues? Anything?
I think what I would want to tell them is, as veterinarians, you're going to make a whole bunch of mistakes by accident. And you know that feeling of like afterwards you realize what should have happened and you can't go back in time. So if you know you're going to make a whole bunch of mistakes by accident, don't make any on purpose. And the ones that you make on purpose are eating your patients and declawing your patients or devocalizing or any of those, ears cropping, tail docking. Those are on purpose mistakes. Don't make them. You are going to, so many nights you're going to be sorry that you made a mistake in earnest. Don't make them on purpose.
Absolutely. And I feel like all vegans feel like, oh, I wish that I went vegan before, you know, like just earlier. And so as, you know, if anybody did those procedures, I'm sure they wanted to stop them. What does a vegan world looks like to you?
Well, I think that the vegan world is going to be, it's going to happen at one point because we're going to be forced to do it. So we might as well do it now.
Right.
I think it's going to be an interesting world. I like using the best of humans. For instance, with these new cat foods that are mouse cell cultures. So no mouse bodies. This is just the cells that have been cultured. And now you can make cat food because cats are pretty much carnivores. There's nothing we can do about that. But the idea of using our big brains for solving problems that's absolutely humane way to do it. And then to always check to see that what we're doing doesn't affect something down the road, or that we're not doing something that we know is wrong. Every step should be towards the world being a better place, a more humane place. And if we can do that, I think every one of us will be a little prouder to be in this planet and a little more tolerant of other people learning on the journey. But if we guide it, and let's say cat food becomes mouse cell cultures, if we guide this, then the whole world will just be like, oh yeah, that's what you feed cats. And think about all the animals whose lives would be saved because we just insisted. We just have to see the future and insist, and then retool it, because we're going to learn along the way what would have been a better way to do it. But the jump has to be towards the right way.
Yes. So there's a conversation that I've had with another vegan vets about our veterinary oath. And what do you think, what would you change about our veterinary oath? If you could, if they will ask, Jenny, what do you think our oath should be?
Yeah, well, our oath right now, for anyone who doesn't know, is really quite disturbing. It's like, I promise to make animals feel better so that we can slaughter them. And then if they get diseases, that we can slaughter them and protect human health and all this. Our oath is really disturbing. And our oath shouldn't be. It should be, above all, do no harm. And it should be our oath is dedicated to making animals and the world a better place, and animals a better place for animals in this world. And my secret wish, whenever anyone says, blow out a candle or whatever, make a wish, my secret wish is all animals are happy all the time. And that just would be like the happiest world for me if all animals were happy all the time.
Oh, I love that wish. My wish is very similar on the same, road. So who's your favorite animal to treat and why?
I like treating big kitties, just because I love kitties. But I would say that what makes me the happiest is when I can take some animal who's absolutely unhappy and make them happy. And it's just a matter of using what I know as a veterinarian and applying it. And I think that one thing that's really cool about doing exotics is that there's very little pressure to euthanize an exotic animal. So like cats and dogs, a cat or a dog comes in, it's been hit by a car, there's nobody who's paying any money for it. There's a good chance that someone's going to pull the lazy card and just kill the animal. But with exotics, I find that people are so happy to have them come into the hospital that, like, I've been able to do MRIs and all sorts of stuff for free because people want that animal to come to the hospital. And in fact, in the LA County, the giant hospital that's for humans, LA County, they used to let me sneak animals in on Sundays into the MRI because they just wanted them coming in.
Yeah.
And so it was free. And I think that by doing exotics, I was able to do better medicine because I wasn't terrified so much of someone saying, I don't want to pay anymore, so let's euthanize.
Yes. Or bringing their own human, BS with the animal that is like completely unnecessary. That's very cool from them to let you do that. And yeah, I think it's really cool to work with wild animals as well. So is there anything else you want to add before we move to our questions session and the end of this meeting?
I do want to add one thing, and I hope that everyone, I think everyone on here, because you're on here, you probably already know, but there is leading by example, and there is also insisting that your leadership is right. And I think that a lot of people, vegans, know that they're right, but they are stereotyped as being hardcore or somehow all the time you get people to say, well, it's my life, it's my choice. And you're like, no, not on this, because there's a third life involved in this and a fourth, there's another life involved, and you don't have the right to take it. And I think it's always important to remind people that if pigs ran the world, then nobody would be eating pigs. And if cows ran the world, then nobody would be eating. So each animal has its innate desire to live. And we don't have a right to take that just because we can. And I think reminding people that it's very hard, because you get these people who are like, well, every year when I see the lobster traps go out in on the beach, and I'm like, that is so brutal. Why do you need, like, why? And you get all these people like, it's my right, I like it, so it's my right. I'm like, no, it's not your right. You have your rights otherwise, but you don't have the right to kill an animal. And we just have to keep insisting that they don't.
And insisting as veterinarians, using our authority.
Yes, we're the authority. But also I think there is something that I found in my struggle to end declawing is that if I try and take a hammer to someone's head to make them understand how bad declawing is, then they just rebel. But if I use the analogy of like they have crooked teeth and now we're going to just put the Invisalign on them and they're just going to start to shape their teeth differently. Like it can't hit them too hard because then they become the victim. And once you make the other person, the meat eating person, the victim, then you can't educate them anymore. So it's more important to just gently push, lead by example, insist that you're right, but never ever let them feel attacked, because once they're attacked, that's the end. They won't ever be anything but the victim, and it's impossible to get to them.
That is such a great advice for all of us activists. Thank you so much. Well, Jenny, thank you so much for being here and agreeing to be part of this idea of mine. I cannot really see if there's any questions. Well, the first one, and the activist movement is growing, from Diana. That's just a comment. Veterinarians that actually care for animals are literal saints for me and the animals whose lives have been saved. Thank you, Michelle. Crystal Heat says, I literally just went to the San Francisco VMA meeting and they had no vegan options on the menu. That's so typical. I emailed them ahead of time, but when I got there, they said, oh, we weren't told. And yeah, I got the lettuce packages, mashed potatoes, and bowl of berries. At least there were berries. Okay, Michelle Del Cuero asks to everyone, is that oath can be read by us, not veterinarians? I'm confused. Michelle, can you clarify that question?
Can I speak, or should I just write it in the chat?
You can ask the question speaking, it will be easier.
Yeah, sorry for my question, but what I meant to say is this oath that veterinarians take available for other people to just read it, or it depends on the university, or it's more something that only, the students have access to when they literally have to take it? Because I was just curious about what Jennifer said, that how, like, I don't know, contradictory it is.
Uh-huh. Where are you from? Where are you right now? Are you in the US?
Yeah, but I'm from Mexico City.
Oh, okay. I'm from Oaxaca. So you can actually see our veterinary oath on the AVMA's website. Is that what you were asking me or asking?
Yeah, just wondering if this is a general one for
Yes,
the United States, and I assume that in Mexico it might be similar, but
it is similar. It is very similar. So this is our oath. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Oh, so this is our oath in the United States, and it's very similar to the one in Mexico, which you take when you just graduated to you promise to the society this kind of oath.
By the way, I just want you to know I never took this oath. I wouldn't, because I don't think that it's right, and I wouldn't take it. Because my oath would be, as admitted to this profession, my patients matter more to me than what food choices I have. So I don't think that they cover what we need, and they don't cover how unique each animal is, and that we're admitted to this profession. It's such a wonderful profession to spend your life saving animals. How can it be that we have to worry about public health, meaning slaughtering animals because they get a disease? I mean, we don't can you imagine? I mean, COVID, there were so many people who had COVID. Can you imagine if there was a public health outbreak on COVID, they would have slaughtered people.
Exactly. No, I think we should fight for rewriting the oath to a more animal-centric, it's about the animals and not about humans. And if animals win, we win,
Yes.
I don't see any other questions. So Drew said, in the same way declawing can be made illegal, what other legislative action can be currently accomplished to improve animal welfare, and what are the obstacles?
That's a good question. The obstacle is always the Veterinary Medical Association, because they have decided that anything that we do is a slippery slope. So by banning declawing, the next thing I'm going to do is ban spay and neuter, and then the next thing I'm going to ban is who knows. So I like making laws because laws protect animals on every level. And I also think it's the smartest way to do it, because veterinarians, everyone who's a veterinarian on here probably has said, I don't declaw, but there's that guy down the street who does it. And the only way to make it a level playing field is to make it illegal.
Yes.
And so that's why I like making laws. Policy is hard to make, but it affects way more animals and people than just stopping one person from declawing. And so anything that we know is horrible, we have to stop. And as veterinarians, we have to be the loudest on this issue. And I know that Crystal is, well, I don't know if she's still on here, but if, Crystal has made our honor to protect animals in all sorts of the horrible atrocities that veterinarians inflict on them. And then Daniela has worked in all sorts of ways that's why she's my spirit animal, and protecting animals in all sorts of ways. But declawing is my issue, but we know that there are tons of things that are done to animals that need help. And the fact that they were ever started is what's so strange. Like, what person thinks of these things to do to animals? I mean, they're sadistic. Declawing is sadistic. There's no question about it. And all the issues that we all, I don't even want to go into them because they're so depressing, but they're sadistic. And I think it's time for us to rise up and say, sorry, sadism, we're not sadists, we're here to protect. And I think that one last thing that maybe will help all of us, maybe help any of you who are trying to do something, think about, you can spend 20 years of your life protecting an animal, 20 years doing whatever you can to protect that animal's life. But in 1 second, someone can destroy it. And the person who destroys that is the person who has that power. Because what protection does isn't power. Protection is just doing the best you can to secure the wellness of that animal. But one hunter, boom, it's gone. And that seems such an unfair reality, but that's what we deal with.
Yes. And Drew, there's a lot more other issues that a lot of us here are working, like Viagra, using fur, it's becoming illegal in a lot of places. So there's a lot to be done for sure, and we veterinarians should be leading this movement towards ethical treatment of animals. It sounded very PETA, but it is ethical treatment of animals.
It's true. And the thing that I encourage everyone who's in this business is, don't get discouraged, because there are people who are that's exactly their motive, is to discourage you, and exactly their motive to be flippant about, it's my right to eat an animal, it's my right to kill animals. And you just want to, it's very hard, because if you're sensitive enough to care, then when you see that the world is full of these people who are, I don't know what other word, but asshole might work. How do you deal with it? But you just rest assured that you are right, and you have to keep people, you have to keep that voice loud, that you are right, they are wrong.
Yes, and you have to keep people like that around, like you.
Well,
So Crystal Heath said it's a very conservative mindset, which I think she was talking about the AVMA. The only way those in power stay in power is by maintaining the status quo and preventing regulation. Paula Franklin asked, sorry, I missed most of this. There will be a replay. Yes, it's been recorded, so we'll post it later. And then Crystal said, the best at best, oh my God, I cannot pronounce this word. Advancements in human history come from giving rights to groups who previously had none. Right, that's kind of what I think is human evolution, just trying to include more species in our circle of empathy and compassion. So I think we are gonna say goodbye and finish this meeting unless anybody has anything else to ask or add. I don't see any
Can
comments.
I just ask what's next with the declaw campaign? Like, are we going to introduce another bill in California next year?
So that, no, we're not going to. So in California, we have a roadblock of one single senator, and we're not going to introduce until the problem with him is that he wants veterinarians to regulate veterinarians, and that is like the fox guarding the hen house. He wants the veterinary medical board to be the ones who regulate veterinarians who declaw, and then it's not going to, and we know that, so we don't want to make a bad law. But in 2024 he terms out, and then we will start again. Meanwhile, in 2023 we have legislation in Virginia, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Michigan, Minnesota, probably Illinois. So we have other places that are considering it. And as you know, in Canada, we've been Canadians are great because they're always like, oh, we do something wrong, whereas Americans are like, we do things wrong. They're so proud of themselves. Canadians have flipped. Almost the entire country no longer declaws, and that's the veterinarians doing it. Quebec will outlaw declawing officially in about a year from now, and Ontario has it has a measure to make it illegal. So that's a big statement, because of course Canada and the US were the only places that still really declawed.
Yeah, that was an excellent question, Crystal. Thank you. Very appreciated the update, and let us know if we can help with anything, Jen.
I mean, I'm kind of tempted just to introduce a declaw ban just to have the battle, because I'm all here for the fight, even if we lose. I just love the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and we need you in 2024. But the problem is that you keep losing. Legislators go, this lost, this keeps losing, so we think it's a loser bill.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to show the reason that we're losing in California is this one senator who believes the California Veterinary Medical Association is right, that veterinarians should be regulating veterinarians. That's just ludicrous, but that's what we're dealing with. Yeah. So we were thinking about whether or not we should introduce a bill to ban devocalization, because that way the California Veterinary Medical Association would be like, we don't make a lot of money from devocalization. Our membership is pretty much against devocalization. That's going to be a little bit harder, and it's going to show the hypocrisy that they don't mind bills that stop veterinary procedures. They just mind ones that
make a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
But what about, I feel like the best one would be a ban on ear cropping. Because literally there's no benefit except for unless you're a dog fighter.
Yeah, well, there's no benefit in devocalization, declawing, or tail docking, or pinioning bird wings. There's no benefit to the animal in any of those. But I think that if we bring it to devocalization or ear cropping or tail docking in dogs, it's going to be an interesting fight because, cats are the underdogs. So a lot of legislators don't love cats.
Mhm.
But if you don't love dogs, then there's something really wrong with you, apparently. And so if we bring it back to something like that, where it's dogs and it's clearly so wrong that every legislator knows it's wrong, it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Mhm. I also think like the main reason that the declaw ban isn't passed isn't just that one senator. I mean, the real reason is the CVMA.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the
the CVMA getting to that one senator and convincing him that the Veterinary Medical Board should be the organization that enforces the law. And we won't let that happen because that would be setting a precedent for all sorts of other laws. And you can't have the people who commit the crime regulate the crime. That doesn't work.
Yeah. But we like, that's just gotta like also just pressure the CVMA nonstop and be like, support this, support us. We are tired of being asked about declawing and stuff from our clients. Like,
Yeah, well, you
yeah.
and I both know the CVMA has no interest in doing what the membership has asked because they actually did a survey and they won't let anyone know what the survey said. And
Yeah.
they blanketly, their blanket statement is it's okay to declaw. And I know why, because when AAHA, when they came out against declawing, they lost a whole lot of membership.
Really?
And then that's why they went back and they actually put it on their own website. Here's how to get around our regulation about declawing, because they lost so many people who, were paying $1,000 a year to be members of AAHA. And once AAHA said declawing was bad, they had to backpedal and say, oh, well, it's bad, but go ahead.
We suck, man. Wow. That's horrifying. I
It
didn't
is
know
horrifying.
about that. Wow.
Well, we need to do better. And thanks to people like Jenny who keeps inspiring, at least to me, I want to do more, I want to do better. And Crystal is like, she's a ball of energy and a force of.
Yes, that's for sure. And we count
Yeah.
on her Crystal, we count on you all the time for legislation and we appreciate all the help that you've given us.
Oh, thank you. I wish I could do more. I always feel like I'm not doing enough. So thank you. But Paula asks one last question, if you're down to stay a little bit later. What's it like going through vet school? How are animals actually regarded? Yeah, Jenny goes through this, I think, a lot. And there will be a recording. So if you want to watch the recording, I don't know if you want to say anything briefly on that. Oh, and pet food and pharmaceutical companies, how much they influence us. Yeah.
Well, they do, and that's because we let them. And here's a thought. The USDA is made by it's veterinarians.
Mhm.
USDA is veterinarians. If veterinarians at the USDA said, you know what, you can't treat chickens like this, it's absolutely wrong. If the veterinarians at the USDA said that, what are these chicken factory farms going to do? If the USDA says it's wrong, then they can't do anything but break regulations of the USDA, which is going to be bad for them. So we need veterinarians in positions of power to say this is wrong. And I'm hoping that the new generations of veterinarians are going to feel empowered enough to say, I'm going to go work for the USDA and I'm going to say it's wrong.
I am pretty sure Crystal is gonna love that advice, because
that's my theory of change right there.
And it was so beautiful at the AVMA conference. We were listening, Crystal and I, these two older veterinarians, and they were saying, well, you guys are the next generation. You guys are right. They were completely agreeing with us and our ideas. And they were like, we're dying, it's your time, and it's gonna happen.
Yeah, instead of doing open rescues, like there's going to be animal rights 3.0 is you activists need to go to vet school and join the USDA and become slaughterhouse workers. And all at once, 1, 2, 3, shut it down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's all it takes is it takes veterinarians in positions of power saying it's wrong, because who could fight them? Who could fight if the entire USDA veterinary team said this is wrong?
Yes.
Who could fight?
We definitely need to be more there in those strategic places for sure.
Yeah.
Let's work on
One
that.
generation, we'll do it. Come on, guys.
So
Yeah.
I think it's so it's the hour right now. I'm sorry. Are you guys okay closing the meeting right now, or we are definitely gonna have more meetings like these with other vegan vets. So Paula, feel welcome, and you can watch this recording. Paula was asking how are animals actually regarded, and you totally talk about that. Randall Cannon, vegan vet, wrote an article saying that in the beginning of his career, he regarded companion animals as entertainment for humans. Oh, you just wrote your website. So hopefully we can see more of you, Paula, and everyone for the next meeting. And thank you so much, Jennifer, again for being you and doing everything that you do for our kittens and cats and animals. And thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun. And if anyone wants to contact me, I just put my website there. You can just go to contact.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and have a great weekend.
Bye.
Hey.
Thanks.